Hi, it's Michael, and welcome to IDS 411. I'm really happy to have you, and I am going to give you just a quick overview just to let you know kind of where things are at, what's expected. This is just the basics. So, one thing I do like to look at personally is this calendar, and we're starting here, first day of class. And I really do think a lot about Wednesdays. Just to let you know, it's like Wednesday, it feels to me in the good old days, you used to go into some place and you'd spend a few hours and lecturing and so forth. So I really do lean on Wednesdays as being a day that you really should devote time to this class. Now, how much time is up to you, but I will let you know the way things work is that you can contribute pretty much constantly until we end on Monday. And so what that does is it gives me Tuesday, and that Tuesday is when I look over things and I do grading and such like that. And my grades, for the most part, are going to be about your assignments. But the nice thing is that as you participate throughout the week, you should be able to get lots of feedback, which leaves you to maybe participate on some of the easy things early on, which is really good. There's usually some easy things and some harder things. Do the easy things. Always try to get feedback. My whole world is about getting feedback as early and as often as you can. If you put everything off till Monday, which is our due date, I can give you very little feedback. And I don't like that. I like to give you feedback. So, in any case, just remember Tuesday, do not do anything because I'm working on grading. And then we just start the next module on the 24th. So, what does all this mean? Let's kind of take a look. You'll see just like everywhere there is a place for modules. And what do modules look like? Let's take a look at one. There's a quick guide, which is kind of fun, I guess, right? If you want to know what we're going to do each week, this is good. What are you going to learn? What are some questions to ask? Things like that. It says if using the mural track, you're going to do this. And I will show you what that looks like pretty quick. But the readings and media and the module itself looks like this. This is week one. And by the time you see this, I'm going to fix this not to be closed because I tried to open them all. So I'm going to fix that. But this is just me writing about the topic for the week. Now, just to let you know, the book, Understanding Context, is also really wonderfully written and says similar things. This is done in my voice and it's done in a different voice. But these are all like, hey, what's the idea for this week? Information architecture, what is it? Good idea, right? Other than that, all you really need to do is to look at the assignments because when an assignment is due, like for example, anything that says mural participation, don't worry, I know what mural is. You don't have to submit anything. But if for some reason you contribute really late or maybe don't participate that much at all because they're meant to be really kind of a group activity even though they don't have to take place all at the same time. I might ding you a point or two. I'm just trying to get you to work through your habit to participate early, get feedback as often as you can. Don't overwork it, but try to give yourself some time. Now, when it comes to a project and you're submitting a project, you do need to do this here. Usually, all projects will be a URL. Sometimes we have to work through permissions on URLs, but don't worry, you'll share your URL usually in Mural first, and we can work out any issues. But this is where it just goes to be graded. That's all. So these four big assignments, that's the main part. And of course, what is better than a big old syllabus? So the syllabus here kind of says things like I've just said. I do respond really quickly and really do appreciate if you're having any issues, just let me know. I'm here for you. Here's a grade breakdown. One thing you might notice is mural participation, which is, I hope, pretty easy for everybody to accomplish, is a pretty decent part of the grade, which is terrific. Uh, each of these projects, some of these might be kind of hard, so I'm not using them. I'm using them to challenge you. I'm not using them to like really make you worry if you make mistakes because you will. These are the topics are hard, but you can see here that the things that I consider to be easier, and then finally, which is this is more of a distillation. The knowledge project is writing about your experiences and what you've learned, sort of. So that's the way the grades work. I hope that does make sense. Other than that, there's a lot of objectives and other things in here about grading. Now, here's where all the action takes place. So let's go back here. You'll get a link, and that link will take you to a room which looks a lot like this. It'll have 10 of these, and guess what? Each one is each week. And this is Mural. And why do we use Mural? Aha, good question. Mural is actually going to teach you a lot about information architecture by just understanding what unstructured data looks like. And that's what this is. This data can look good and we can understand it, but it doesn't really have much structure. For example, if you want to, and I would, I'd go up here. The biggest structure right now is a outline. And if you click on these, it's kind of like this will take you to the things and the areas in the, it calls it a presentation outline, but really it's just an outline. But here's the beginning part. Usually the beginning part has some links in it. And in this case, the very first link will be what I'm recording right now. The next link for this example is a kind of an overall concept. What are we learning in this class? And I think this is kind of fun. You know, you can take a look at this. I happen to like videos. I will do a video every week with new ideas and to give you guys feedback and all sorts of stuff. However, I will say I also did videos based on all that writing that you just saw a minute ago. So I try to give you different ways. Some people like videos, some people may not like videos. It's up to you. I even, in this case, did a podcast and am curious if anyone likes these podcasts. These are generated by AI, and I just think they're kind of fun because they take the writing and kind of turn it into a dialogue. Also, a little bit more, this is a presentation of the course itself. So if I was going to get together with you, I'd show you this presentation, which is pretty much what I'm doing over here, I think. So either way, lots of different ways to be engaged. You will need to learn Mural. I think one of the hardest things of Mural to begin with is the zoom level. So if you zoom to a certain area, you can actually zoom in and out just like with your mouse wheel, and that's fine. But you can get really tiny. Good. It's getting better at this, but you don't want to change zoom levels too much. Just a tip. The other thing is if you drag something onto this, a good thing to drag, what do I like? I like to drag on links. So let's say, for example, I had a link. I'm going to copy it. I'm just using a browser and I'm going to paste the link. Like paste the link. There we go. So pasting the link does magical things like shows you a preview and shows you a area that you can edit, and it's really good. And if you clicked on it, it would work. So links are great. You can also take an image and you can drop that on there, which is kind of fun. So there we go. We don't like computers being accountable. Either way, it's pretty easy to get things in and out of, and it's also good to just, you can just talk in this sort of format. And remember, or not remember, but to note, over here, we're going to ask you your impressions of something. So if you put it all into a link and try to type, it might get really, really, really big. And that's kind of the fun of this class, right? Actually, that's on purpose too. Don't worry. All these things might feel like mistakes. By the way, you can go in and click on somebody else's thing and delete it. If that ever happens, you can just do undo, which is usually Control Z, or I think it's up there, undo, right? If you make some sort of mistake, you can always undo. Just take your time. Try not to get too worried. And I'm not worried as well. I will always give credit for trying something, even if mishaps happen. That's when learning takes place. So what is your impression of Mickey McManus? You might want to say here, Mickey is, well, he is lying. Anyway, but that's maybe a hint. But either way, you can write something short to give yourself a bit of thing. But if you want to, you go into here and you can add comments. And when you add a comment, you can pretty much type as long as you really want to, and all sorts of things like that. What's terrific about these comments later, too, is that I will be notified. Like if I wrote something and you wrote something or whatever, it's going to notify me through email and tell me your comment. It's kind of also a bit of the cool part of this class for me is teaching you how these mechanisms work. But in this case, just a couple of tips. You don't want to have to, again, write everything into a post-it note. And if you didn't right click on something, I was right clicking. Um, and that's where you add comments. Not sure what button links do. They always add things to Mural. So yeah, I think that's enough to get you started. And as I said, the important point is to get started. Maybe again, Wednesday could be a good day to read and catch up on videos and maybe do simple things like this introduction. And almost every week does have this. In this case, we're talking a little bit about being lost. And so I've got an example here that could be fun to add a picture to and then add a story to the picture. So if I did that, let's see, we could say getting lost. What's a good getting lost thing? Oops. Well, let's pretend it was what I was just sharing a second ago. So here's my thing about getting lost, and then I could tell my story by adding comment. I got lost once. And then, by the way, a comment can also be replied to. So you can start mini dialogues. But what's great, and again, spilling the beans here, this is why we're using Mural, is you can keep a lot of things happening and you will get a little less confused than if it was all trying to be pigeon, put into its box, so to speak. So this is getting started. Hope you enjoy it. And always, if something just doesn't go right at all, feel free to email me. I'm always happy to help.